It was a rainy night. On March 10th, 2010, Brooke Melton, who was 29 years old and a pediatric nurse, was driving her 2005 Chevy Cobalt to meet her boyfriend for her birthday dinner outside of Atlanta. As she was driving on the highway, her car suddenly lost power. Unable to control the vehicle, it hydroplaned, crossed the center line, and slammed into another vehicle at 58 miles per hour. Her car ended up in a creek. The airbag never deployed. Ken and Beth Melton, her parents, rushed to the hospital, but she was dead when they arrived. In their nightmare of grief, they hired a lawyer, a trial lawyer. They asked him to help them understand what had happened and, if possible, hold whoever was responsible accountable. And he went to work, spending his own resources to get to the bottom of what happened to Brooke on that rainy night in Georgia when she was on her way to celebrate her birthday. He hired an engineer to help him. Together, Mr. Cooper, the lawyer, and Mr. Hood, an engineer, began to identify a defect that someone at General Motors had discovered years before. There was a problem with the ignition switch in Chevy Cobalts. It could easily be bumped or brushed or pulled from on to accessory or off, powering down the car, disabling the power steering, disabling the power brakes, and preventing the airbags from deploying. After 2 years of fighting General Motors for documents and a timeline of events, at a deposition in April of last year, Mr. Cooper finally confronted General Motors with the facts. Someone at General Motors had switched out the unsafe ignition switches in several car models and covered it up by using the same part number for the same switch. And when Mr. Cooper confronted General Motors' Mr. Ray DiGiorgio, their lead switch engineer, with the evidence of the part switch, he lied. He said he didn't know anything about it. Documents, General Motors commodity validation sign-off, signed on April of 2006, bear the signature of, in fact, Ray DiGiorgio. It is now clear that GM knew of the faulty switch in 2004, knew the airbags were not deploying in 2005, and in late 2005 knew someone had died. We don't know how many people crashed because of this cover-up. We do know that many died, including Ms. Melton and at least one of my constituents, a Missouri woman who died in a crash in 2009 out in the suburbs surrounding St. Louis. It might have been the old GM that started sweeping this defect under the rug 10 years ago, but even under the new GM banner, the company waited 9 months to take action after being confronted with specific evidence of this egregious violation of public trust. Thousands of my constituents in St. Louis and Kansas City areas go to work for General Motors every day, building some of the finest cars on the road. I am proud of them and I am proud of their work. This is not their failure. They and the American public were failed by a corporate culture that chose to conceal rather than disclose. Has Mr. DiGiorgio been fired?
As the investigation has only been going on for a couple weeks, we have already made process steps. As I return to the office, we will start to look at the people implications.
So he has not been fired?
No, he has not.
Okay, is he still working there every day?
Yes.
Okay, and you know that he lied under oath.
The data that's been put in front of me indicates that, but I'm waiting for the full investigation.
Okay,
I want to be fair.
Let me help you here. He said several times he had no idea these changes had been made. Here is a document that he signed under his name, Mr. Ray DiGiorgio. He signed it on April 26, 2006, approving of the change. Now, it is hard for me to imagine you would want him anywhere near engineering anything at General Motors under these circumstances. And I for the life of me, can't understand why he still has his job. And I think it is I know you want to be methodical. I know you want to be thorough. I know you want to get this right. But I think it sends exactly the wrong message that somebody who perjures repeatedly under oath, he wasn't just asked the question once. He was asked the question over and over again. Now, here's the really important question. This document, which is completely relevant to any lawsuit that is filed against GM around these crashes, would have been included in any document request from any lawyer representing a family. This document was not given to Mr. Cooper. This document was withheld from the lawyer representing the family of Brooke Melton. He didn't even find out about this document until after his case had been settled. How do you justify withholding a key piece of documentary evidence in a litigation concerning a part that was changed without a part number change and that is spelled out in this document for anyone to read? How does that happen?
I don't condone not providing information when requested in a legal proceeding. And if that was done, we will deal with the individuals accountable for that.
I want to know how many cases they buried this document, because this is what happens in America. Corporations think they can get away with hiding documents from litigants and that there will be no consequences. And I want to make sure there's consequences for hiding documents, because this is hiding the truth from families that need to know. And it's outrageous, and it needs to stop. Finally, two things for the record. Will you commit to coming back in front of this committee when you can answer the questions?
Yes.